Good morning, citizens and staff of Douglas County. Welcome to the Douglas County Board of Commissioners Work Session for Monday, April 10th, 2023. At this time, we will call the meeting to order. And clerk, do we have any public comments?
Yes, ma'am. We had a few citizens sign in. But before I call them, I just want to remind you, you have 3 minutes to address the board. Once your 3 minutes are up, I will notify you to go ahead and wrap up your comments. When you come to the podium, please restate your name and address. The first one is Miss Kathy Beveridge.
Good morning. My name is Kathy Beveridge, and I reside in District 3, Douglas County. I wanted to discuss the Punkintown Nature Preserve. As of February 2017, the county recognized the conservation and public access deed restrictions and planned to create a nature preserve using the property. In 2023, the county has broken those deed restrictions. $50,000 was originally budgeted for the nature preserve, with work to be done in-house. Approval for a $100,000 grant application to the state DNR was approved in September of 2016. The BOC approved a grant application to Georgia Trails Assistance in the amount of $100,000 with a 25% match. $500,000 was requested from SPLOST to maintain a medium-duty access bridge to get to the 78 acres that are not accessible from Punkintown Road. This was never presented to the SPLOST committee as a project to be funded. The master plan was based on public input as well as the desire to lessen the impact on the environment. Agreeing to citizen input, the parking area was originally planned too large and needed to be downsized. In 2022, approval of $100,000 to purchase a bridge from the city of Douglasville was granted, but that bridge was not for sale. In 2022, a contract was awarded for $1.2 million, and the master plan was changed significantly. As planned, 1.33 acres of the 7-acre portion was to be developed, but instead 3 acres have been disturbed, completely leveling all 100-year-old trees and natural vegetation. Deed restrictions were broken, and now the contractor has hit rock. The county wants to spend another $44,000 to remove portions of the rock. ADA requirements were used as a reason for breaking the deed restrictions. If approved, once the rock is removed, an unknown amount of money will be required to obtain dirt and haul it in. I'm asking the county to table the approval of this $44,000 to begin jackhammering rock and removing it until such a time that an estimate of funds needed to bring in dirt and all the other activities surrounding that are known. The ADA plans are for a sidewalk to the bridge and parking. Once in the park, someone in a wheelchair or with disabilities can use the restroom, go to the bridge, and return to the parking area. There is no use of the trails or the remaining 78 acres for a disabled person. I cannot find any federal requirements for a passive nature preserve to have ADA compliance. And really, we aren't offering anything to our citizens with disabilities at this park. There are many passive parks in Atlanta and not ADA equipped.
Thank you, Ms. Beveridge. Your time is up.
She told me I could wrap up. Thank you. We do have Sweetwater Park as an ADA equipped park. Should we be spending this amount of money and destruction of the land against the restrictions?
I don't want to have you escorted out, but I am going to ask you to please end your comments at this time. Thank you for your public comment.
Short.
And who is next? Clerk Watson.
The next individual to speak is Ms. Carol Newborn.
Hi, my name is Carol Newborn. I live at 9448 Cedar Creek Place in Douglasville. And I just had a couple of questions. One was about the grant that we're getting for the DA's office. Is that going to be a permanent position? Or is that something that we're just going to pay for as long as we have the grant? Because as a taxpayer, that concerns me. A one-time grant doesn't mean anything if we're on the hook for this person for the rest of their career. And we don't get that continuing grant. And the other thing that I was concerned about is some of the spending expenditures that I've seen from county commissioners. I know for a fact, if you are an employee of this county and you have a credit card, you are required, not suggested, but required to turn in a piece of paper for every expenditure explaining what that expenditure is for, and you're required, not suggested, to turn in a receipt. And I want to know why that you require that of all the county employees, but not of the commissioners. That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk Watson, who's next?
Yes, ma'am. The next individual is Ms. Sharon Bachtel.
Sharon Bachtel, 6331 South Skyline Drive, and thank you for allowing me to speak. Punkintown Park has become a money pit. In June of last year, you gave Construction and Nobility Incorporated 2 large contracts. One was for $1.5 million for work at Bill Arp and Fairplay Parks, paid for from SPLOST funds. The other contract was for $1.3 million for work at Punkintown Park, the funds coming from the general fund. Now this company wants $45,000 more to remove rock from a nature preserve. This is sounding a lot like what happened when you built the animal shelter and ran into rock there. Aren't we supposed to learn from our mistakes? This shows poor planning. Did you not check for rock in this area before choosing it for the entrance in a parking lot? What will a jackhammering do to the wildlife in that area? What will jackhammering do to the last standing chimney from the homestead, which was supposed to be preserved for historical education? How much more will it cost the taxpayers to bring in the fill dirt that will be required? Where is the soil coming from? How do we know this soil is safe and not contaminated? How will you keep that soil from washing down into the streams and contaminating them? After you destroyed all of the trees and vegetation from that hill, you were not successful in keeping that debris from washing into the streams. All of these questions need to be answered and considered before spending any more money on this park. The rock is a part of nature too. By removing the rock, you are destroying the nature preserve, which should be kept pristine. You have already harmed the preserve by not following the requirements of the deed. You stripped 3 acres of the trees and vegetation instead of only 1 acre. You encroached within 25 feet of the streams when you were supposed to stay 100 feet away from them. Now you want to take away the foundation of the hill. You should be doing everything possible to preserve the nature in Punkintown Park, not destroying it. Enough is enough. Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk Watson?
Yes, ma'am. One more individual, Ms. Linda Kripe.
Good morning. Can everybody hear me? Thank you. First, I'd like to say that this is not a race thing or is it a party thing, but I am a pissed off citizen. First, I'm here because I'm a vested 30-year citizen of this county and a native Georgian. I moved here because it was quiet, because it was serene, and because it was a real hometown. I've never been more pissed than I am now at the behavior of the actions of the elected officials in this county. Every citizen in this county should be also pissed. It is our money, and you work for us. While I live in District 3, I still attend the events that reflect this county of the other districts, and it seems to me that people everywhere in this county are fed up and with the actions of the members of this BOC. Let's start with the frivolous spending. By hiring companies like CSI Crane, who are here to cover up and spend the corruption here and train the BOC members on how not to respond to these issues. Let's also talk about the fact that no one in this county has been watching or policing the expenses or making these people accountable for their personal purchases and their whining and dining out on taxpayer money. Let's also talk about the fact that one in particular commissioner thinks he is above the rules and uses the P card and the county as his personal bank account, such as going to the bourbon bar. You can spend it like a cigar bar you want to, but several times a week. And so we have been paying for it, and now sexual harassment claims against him. Seriously, how much more do you think that this county needs the embarrassment? You can spend everything that you want in the way that you want, but facts are facts. We have become an embarrassment. Well, here we are, and we have been watching, and we are going to hold everyone on this board accountable and every elected official in this county accountable as well, too. What happened to the Me Too movement and believing the women that make these claims? Do you think that she did this because she wanted to? I think she said off everything she said because she was afraid, and she didn't want to put up with it anymore. Thank you for allowing me to talk, and I appreciate your time.
Clerk Watson?
No other, no other comments.
Thank you for public comment. Citizens, before we move any further, I would like to ensure that we have a... Citizens, before we move any further, I'd like to ensure that we have a quorum for this meeting. At this time, I ask that District 2 Commissioner Kelly Robinson present himself present.
Madam Vice Chair, present.
District 4 Commissioner Mark Alcaraz.
Present.
And your District 3 Commissioner and Vice Chair Terenia Carthen. We do have a quorum to conduct business. At this time, I will ask that we amend any parts of the agenda.
Madam Chair, I would like to suggest that we amend the agenda to add, under new business, a resolution clarifying the authority of the vice chair in the absence of the chair. Add that item as a new business item.
You have heard from the County Attorney Board of Commissioners to amend the business item agendas to reflect a resolution. Do I have a motion?
So moved as requested.
Do I have a second? I'll second it. At this time, we will vote to amend the agenda. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those who oppose?
Aye.
1, 2 to 1, and the motion carries to amend the agenda. So before we move any further, we have heard your public comments, and we do take them under advisement. I do want to say, as you can see, we only have 3 commissioners here. It is unfortunate that at this time we are in transition. As you all know, it has been displayed in the media, the Board of Commissioners has had their BOC chairman removed and our District 1 commissioner removed. I will ask, as I did at my town hall, that we keep both Dr. Ramona Jackson-Jones and Commissioner Henry Mitchell in our prayers, as well as their family and support team. Each one of us understands that if you are accused of something, you do have your day in court. So I would ask that we just allow that to take place. But I do want everyone to know that the business of this county will continue. We do have 3 very competent commissioners that the voters have elected into office. We will continue with the help of our administration and, of course, with our staff to meet every demand of the constituents. So your emails, your calls, your comments, they will be addressed. To our vendors, please note that the county is in great physical condition. We do have the ability to meet all of our contracts and to meet the ability to complete the projects that we have in the works. The county is in good standing. And until such time as the governor appoints or directs another BOC chairman and a District 1 chairman, we will continue to meet, hold a quorum, and carry out the business of the county. Thank you for your cooperation and your patience as we transition into a new normal. Now, for our first item on the agenda is the presentation of the Customer Service Award. Ms. Wendy Caudle.
Good morning, Commissioner Carthen. Good morning, Board. As you know, the county has embarked on making customer service a focus, and we have been conducting customer service trainings over this last year and into this year. And we are also honoring our county staff who are showing exemplary customer service. So tomorrow, we will present there are 2 county employees who will be receiving the Customer Service Champion Award tomorrow at the BOC meeting. And I'll keep that a surprise, so you'll come back as to who they are. So that is what it is. Are there any questions?
No, thank you so much. We
Thank
look
you.
forward to that. Board of Commissioners, we will do our approval of the minutes for March 21st, 2023, our work session minutes for March 20th, 23, and our executive session meeting minutes of March 20th and 21, 2023. Please be prepared accordingly. Next are our proclamations. We have proclaiming April 9th through the 15th, 2023 as National Telecommunications Week in Douglas County, Georgia on tomorrow. Wonderful. Next, we will have a public hearing, approval of a new on-premises beer, wine, and liquor alcohol license be granted for Twisted Taco at 376 Maxim Road, Austell, Georgia, 30168, and that will be headed up by Ms. Allison Dunking of Planning and Zoning.
Good morning. Thank you. Just briefly, we have a request for a new alcohol license. This will be for on-premises sales. This is at Twisted Taco. The address is 376 Maxim Road. This will be for beer, wine, and liquor. The applicant has filed the application. They do meet all of the applicable requirements. Staff is recommending approval of this request, but per our ordinance, we do have to have a hearing. So that hearing will be at the meeting tomorrow. We have done all of the required advertisement and notification. That should be in the packet that you received, and the applicant will be here tomorrow to address any questions that you may have. And I'm happy to address any questions you may have at this time.
Board of Commissioners, I open it up for any questions or comments. Commissioner Robinson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Thank you. All right, I'll be quick because I know we got the public hearing for tomorrow. Again, a couple questions for you, Manager Duncan. Twisted Taco, is this their first location here in Douglas?
As far as I know, this is their first location here in Douglas. They are going into a space that has previously been occupied for a restaurant and bar. But as far as I know, this is their first location here.
And this is right down Maxim, right on the border of Cobb County, right?
Close to the border, yes, sir.
Okay. My last question, without getting into the hearing part, is that are you comfortable, though, in what they're presenting?
Yes, sir. We are comfortable that they have submitted everything to satisfy the requirements of our ordinance.
You know, one of the things that, we've been talking about, and something I have advocated in District 2, it's really, small business. Continue to promote everything along that Maxim Road corridor, everything along Thornton Road. It's important. All right, this is, again, going back to creating atmosphere. It's not just for the large guys. It's for everybody. And I'm encouraged by this, to see this, and so I look forward to the public hearing. I look forward to my board asking their questions whether or not this should be approved as far as the beer, wine, and alcohol. It is beer, wine, and alcohol, or just beer, wine?
Yes, sir. It is beer, wine, and alcohol. They are already approved as a restaurant. Under our code, you have to have 51% food sales for the on-premise sales that they are requesting. So they are already approved as a restaurant, and they're operating as a restaurant, and they are seeking permission for the alcohol license.
I'll yield for the question until I hear the applicant tomorrow. Thank you,
Right.
Madam
Thank you.
Duncan. Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, I'll yield.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board? If not, we will move on to county administrative business. Is there any?
No new business.
Next agenda item are grants. Number 6, approval of the Violence Against Women Act grant in the amount of $66,667 with the local match of $16,667 to be funded through in-kind and department's current budget for an existing domestic violence investigative position with the Douglas County District Attorney's Office, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Ms. Laura Thompson, you have the floor.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, this is our continuation grant, and We just need the document signed as usual. And any questions?
Sure. So this grant will help to fund a full-time position.
Yes. It is a domestic violence investigator in our office.
Okay. And the match of $16,000 is coming out of your existing budget?
We try to do in-kind. If we can get volunteers, we put that towards it. If not. Hear me or her?
Just put a little closer.
Okay. Yes, it is a domestic violence investigator position in our office. And the in-kind, the match, we try to make up with in-kind services as volunteers.
Is this grant for 1 year?
It is for 1 year, yes.
Do you anticipate receiving the grant next year, or what will happen if
We
you don't?
hope so. We've had it now, probably, I would have to look back, but probably 6 or 7 years.
Okay. And in the event that you do not receive this grant on next year, what will happen to
We would come in front of the board and see what we would work out.
and see what you will work out to see if you can pick up and
Correct.
absorb the costs under your
Yes.
existing budget?
Correct.
Wonderful. Board of Commissioners, I open it up for any questions that you may have regarding this item. Commissioner Robinson, you have the floor.
Absolutely, thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
All right, to piggyback on that, so again, we're trying to provide services for the county.
Correct.
All right, this is important, so I'm trying to frame why we do what we do. There's different mechanisms that we do to bring resources on board. We can put them on full-time staff, we can put them on contract, we can use grants, et cetera. Take your pick. And some things are short-term temporal, and some things are long-term. And it ebbs and flows, right? A lot of the grants are coming from what, federal or state, for the most part. And so we try to be creative and be diverse in how we approach delivering services to the public. So let's talk about, let's get off the finite of just, we know it's a dollar amount. Everything costs money. But what will the value be? Explain what this role will do and its impact. Like, what is the outcome of this area or this specific role, please? Give us context.
It would hurt our office if we did not have a domestic violence investigator. We do have a lot of domestic violence cases, and she goes and works on these specific cases and sees them through to the trial process.
All the way through? Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you have volume? How many cases do we have? Do you see a trend? I'm going to frame it that way. Is there a trend in domestic violence in Douglas County? And I'll let you give us how you want to split that. I know that's a broad statement, but for the group.
I have no idea. I could pull the numbers, but just offhand, I do not have any.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
but we do, because we're doing this, we know it occurs, right?
Yes.
Okay. Got it. I'm gonna leave it at that for right now.
Okay.
Because you don't have to, I wasn't looking for that. But you believe that this is something that we need to do? Because sometimes we want to hear from you guys for
Oh, yes,
advocacy.
certainly, yes.
Yes, go ahead. You said yes?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Madam Vice Chair, I yield.
Thank you. Commissioner Alcaraz, you have the floor.
Ms. Thompson, how
Yes.
many other domestic violence investigators do you have?
This is the only one.
This will be the only
Mhm.
one? Okay. All right, and I'm assuming that is there a backlog in this division as to why you're needing this one particular position?
I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know that. I handled the reporting side of the grant,
Okay,
so,
okay. All right, with that, Madam Chair, I yield back. Or
Thank
Vice
you,
Chair.
Ms. Thompson.
thank you.
Board of Commissioners, our next work agenda item is number 7, approval of the annual voucher transportation program grant with the ARC in the amount of $245,820 with a local match of $49,164 to be funded through the department's existing budget, amend the budget if necessary, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Ron Roberts, you have the floor.
Good morning, Vice Chair and Commissioners and citizens and directors and administrators. Hope everybody had a good Easter. This goes every year, and this is our apportionment, which is built into our budget for our voucher program. The voucher program does a lot of good in the county. It's $10. It's for 65 and older. Those that are in the voucher program pay $10. They get $100 worth of vouchers per month, and if they're disabled, they get $20 for $200 worth of vouchers per month. And it's been a good program, and it's doing very well, and we are looking to re-up for this year, and that's what this agenda item is about. I'm open for any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Board of Commissioners, do we have any questions for Mr. Roberts? Commissioner Robinson?
Thank you. All right. Director Roberts, good morning.
Good morning.
All right, so let's, as Chair of Transportation, we've had these conversations, so I just want to bring it to my fellow peers, this topic. Can you give context? Now, I guess this would have been in 2017, 18, pre-you, but just for the context, there was, we had a queue of seniors that needed support for rides. And I remember at that time, the administration made a decision to use the fund balance, just like, guys, we got a list. What are we doing? Why are we playing with this? Why we got them backed up like this? So when you get tomorrow, I want to get the statistics over time and show how we've used those vouchers and how we, what is the list? Do we have a waiting list? Because when again, I always want to see outcomes. It's always asked. I want outcomes going forward. All right, we got to we got to see a return on what we are appropriating it. So I'd like to know how we're knocking this down. I get the vouchers. I get that it's a subsidy between, again, vouchers, grants, matches, etc. But what is the impact of the seniors? I mean, how many? Give us context. Is this good? Can we go further? Can we go deeper? How deep is the need?
Thank you for that question. So the voucher program began 11 years ago. It was, I remember that at that time, when I came over here from Cobb County, we had a voucher program there, and I remember talking to administration at the time, and we started with a $1,500 match. At that time, that was 11 years ago, so we've built it. There's right at 200 persons that are participants in the voucher program currently. Can we do more? That's exactly a great segue for me to do a plug for the Transit Master Plan. Thank you for that. That's actually online as of last Saturday. We're looking for surveys. We're looking for the citizens to really weigh in and see. We want to find out, what to do with the funding that we do get from both the FTA and from the ARC. This funding actually comes through the Agency on Aging at ARC, and so we're looking to gather that data from everyone and see exactly what we can do, what we can build. I will say that we are very fortunate. We have, in terms of, we have 11 private providers that we work with to provide these voucher services. And when I was in Cobb, that's the total private vendors we had for twice as many people. So we've got the vendors here in Douglas County, and we're working with them. And we're always looking for new vendors as well. So we do want to find out. There is a waiting list, and we're looking at what we can do to move some funding around and build on that. In the last year, we've added 56 people to the that were on the waiting list. So we're looking to see what else we can do. Yes.
No, that's great. I'll close my comments. Again, I want to go back to outcomes. Can you show me a historical, if you can? I mean, at least go back 6 years, but if you can go back 10, that's great to show how this program, from what you know before, I know you've got context. But, I mean, it's important that we see this, not just for the board and making these decisions, but for the citizens. Mm-hmm. Now, I know we got more than 200 seniors in this county that has this need. Now, I know we're going through the master plan, and we're quantifying needs, it's all about the needs analysis, et cetera. But as we have these conversations, even if you're not complete with the plan, at least still show us what you know to date, right? We'll make it more refined at the end of the year. They'll come up with a pretty PowerPoint and a pound of paper. But for right now, as we're making these interim decisions, you get to see that along the way. So I want you to do that. Last thing is on service provider. One more time, it's not just about those who've been grandfathered into the system forever. Those that people are familiar with, right? We're up to 11 service providers How well are they doing? Do we evaluate these service providers that are providing these, how do we deal with that part?
Great question, Commissioner. And the answer to that is through the process of getting the grant funds. The Atlanta Agency on Aging does come out and they conduct audits on our books as related to the private vendors. They come out and interview them and things like that. So every one of our vendors that actually transport the citizens that are in the voucher program are reviewed to make sure that their requirements, insurance, everything is up to date, and they're all kept in a binder, and they do come out. In fact, they came out about a week and a half ago and did that audit for us.
Okay, so a service provider, these are for-profits or non-profits, it doesn't matter?
These vendors are for-profit. They are individuals or companies in Douglas County that provide transit services. They do not solely provide transit services just for the vouchers. They operate as transportation for other individuals as well. But we have recently got some magnets and some placards that we want to install on the vehicles to help promote the voucher program and bring awareness to it as well. So we'll be putting those on their vehicles pretty soon.
So then to that last point, so one more time, we have the awarding of contracts. Somebody's getting this business. There's service providers. There's 11 of them. Who picks them and how do we recalibrate when the calls come in? Like, how does it get shuffled out? Like, how do it get picked? If I got 11 people and you got a volume of 200, who gets it? How does it work?
They apply. We have made it known. I think I want to say that I know we went out in the electric bills in Cobb to solicit and try to get the private providers. I don't remember exactly how they were. It was done in Douglas County at the time. I wasn't here, but I think it was on the website, promotional. Hey, this is available. If you're interested, give us a call, and then they would go through the vetting process to become a vendor.
So your department makes the pick? I mean, but again, the question is, like, who gets on a daily call? Who gets the volume? Explain that. I'm just curious. How does this work? I guess, the people that have been in the voucher program, they have, they pick the individual. They get to pick their own.
They pick their own. And
There's
through
short
the
lists?
vicissitudes of going, every month, I guess they kind of come to, some of them have their favorites or their favorite drivers or whatever, or their favorite company, or it may be something that one company is able to do that one doesn't, or it's organic in that nature.
Got it. And so that preferred list, do we create a list? Do we publish this list? Or they just got to find it on their own? Like, if this is our qualified, these are the preferred, what is?
When they come in and they sign up for the vouchers and they pay their fees and they get their booklets and everything, then they're given this list of providers to call.
All right, so we do actually have our hand on that list. We qualify that list of service providers, and they get to go self-select who they want. Is that true?
That's correct. They get a list of, and then actually the 11th was just added about 2 weeks ago. So we had 10 up until about 2 weeks ago. So now we just added the 11th, and so that list gets sent out an email to every voucher participant so that they are aware that there is a new provider.
All right, you've answered my question for preparation for the vote tomorrow. Thank you, Director Roberts. Madam Vice Chair, I yield. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Commissioner Alcaraz, you have the floor.
Mr. Roberts, I appreciate Commissioner Roberts asking all those questions because that eliminated all the questions I was about to ask you.
Okay.
Except for, can you please tell our citizens where they can find this survey?
Absolutely. So it's on the Celebrate Douglas website. The Transit Master Plan is, and they can go to the website and sign up. It is a SurveyMonkey poll that they can take to fill out and provide us the data. We just kicked that off last Saturday. We did the soft launch last Monday. A week ago today was the actual launch of the survey. Glad that it's out there. Glad to get this process started. Very excited for it. It's going to be a long road, but part of starting a master plan of this nature, Commissioner, is getting the baseline. Where are we actually at? And so that's where the citizens really, really is important. I've been able to pull from the list that Manager Duncan had already for the land use plan. We've worked with Ray Lightford over at CSB. He has a number of entities that he works with that need transportation and transportation options. So, I mean, for the last several months, we've been recruiting entities, agencies, and persons that we knew would be interested and would participate. And so, yes, that's where we're at right now.
So when the survey is completed, it comes back to your department, correct?
It goes to we have a consultant.
A consultant,
We have a
okay.
consultant. RS&H is our consultant, and there's 3 subs that they have that we're working with.
Okay. Yeah, and I just asked if you would share that data with the Board of Commissioners once your survey is complete.
Part of it, part of what is in the plan, Commissioner Alcaraz, is to actually sit down with the Board of Commissioners and do a half-day activity. Obviously, we delayed that a little bit, but that was in the milestones for the first 60 to 90 days of the kickoff. So we're going to kick that back a little bit and give it some time to settle, and then definitely we'll be meeting with every one of you. This is too important not to.
Okay, fantastic. I yield back, Vice Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Director Roberts?
Yes, ma'am.
Again, can you please stress, while you do have an audience, the importance of filling out this customer survey at celebratedouglascounty.com?
We have transit. We have transit funds in this county. There is a need countywide, from east to west, north to south, of individuals that need transportation, that have family members that need transportation. We want to hear from every citizen, all 150,000 that reside in this county. You know, if you want to say something, you have an opportunity now to say it. I've been watching some of the comments, and even the negative comments are positive in nature, because they do open up possibilities. We want to see what the citizens of this county want to have, what they're willing to participate with, and where their greatest needs are. Part of the survey is a heat map. It indicates where the hot spots are, where people, where you're responding. It actually, okay, there's an area that, real robust feedback from that area. Let's incorporate that into our decision process. Let's make sure we get meetings, and there'll be meetings in every commission district over the summer. Every commission district will have meetings. We'll be going out to the public. Excuse me. So please, you see it online, go to Celebrate Douglas and fill it out. Let us hear from you.
Thank you so much for stressing that. Right now, the Board of Commissioners has authorized 2 updates, right? One is the comprehensive plan update, and of course, the transportation plan update. Both are crucial, not only for our citizens, but for those companies who are looking to relocate here. We want to make sure that we have great transportation options, as well as community options for those who want to commute throughout the county. So thank you so much for updating us, and we look
Thank
forward
you.
to the results of that.
Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
Thank you. Our next agenda item is business items. Tab number 8, authorize the chairman to sign a name change on a car allowance agreement for Nellie Ittenduden. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. In the amount of $4,800. That's $184.62 per pay period, pending final legal review. Ms. Thompson.
Yes, this is just a name change. We had one ADA leave, and so now we are putting Nellie on it.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board regarding this name change? Commissioner Robinson, you have the floor.
All right. So, thank you. This is more broader. Madam ACA, are you out here?
Yes.
All right, so car allowance is something that we've talked about in times past, and we've asked for legislation to be created to help us sort of fix this and how we address this. What is the status overall? I'm separating that from the ask right now. I want to go back to what we asked for before as a board and where that status is right now. There was a list of about, what, 40-something people with various degrees of, I want to say, amounts and time and speed. Can you give us a status on that? And if you don't have the answer right now, we'll come back. But I need an answer by tomorrow. What's that thing? All right, that's good enough. I have no problem with this, Madam Vice Chair. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you. Tab number 9, authorization to approve Integrated Construction and Mobility, Inc.'s change order number 2 in the amount of $445.51 to excavate rock from the area of the pedestrian bridge abutments of Punkintown Nature Preserve to be funded through the general fund and to authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Director Dukes, you have the floor.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, the contractor has hit rock out at Punkintown, and this is a change order to provide him what he needs to remove the rock under the bridge site, the parking lot, and the entrance road. It was a recommendation of the Oversight Committee, Recreation Oversight Committee.
Thank you. Director Dukes, can you speak to any knowledge that you were aware of that the construction company would hit rock at Punkintown Park?
No, ma'am. We had no idea.
Got you. And is there anything that can be done to avoid this, or is there another route that can be taken?
Well, there could be blasting, which we certainly didn't want to go that route. So this is our only option now, is to try to remove as much rock as we can. We will have to bring in some soil later on, but this is our only option right now.
How will you ensure and address that what is being brought in is environmentally sound?
We're getting it from another site, or hopefully getting it from another site, but we don't have any indication that anything we would bring into the park would be, a hindrance or destroy any kind of nature at the park. We're here to protect it, not to destroy it.
Thank you for that. And do you have a time frame as to how long this would take?
They're going to work on the rock for approximately 2 weeks. They want to try to get as much rock out as they can so they won't need as much dirt to bring in, but we won't know that until after the 2-week period.
Thank you. And again, this bridge is the pedestrian bridge. Can you talk about that briefly?
Yes, the property is divided into 2 segments with Bear Creek. So we have to have a means to get to the larger segment, which is about 65 acres on the other side of the trailhead. So we need a pedestrian bridge for not only getting the citizens to the majority of the property, but to do diligence in maintenance, and also in case there's an emergency, to get a vehicle across to the other segment of the property.
Thank you for that. Board of Commissioners, do you have any questions for Director Dukes in regards to this item? Commissioner Robinson, you have the floor.
I like being at work. All right, Director Dukes, let's talk about this. So give us context. How many parks do we have in the county?
About 17.
17 parks. And anything less than 5 years old?
Anything less than 5 years old? No, sir.
10 years?
It would be bordering on Lithia Springs, but that was the last.
That was it, right.
The last one, yes, sir.
Right, because of Woodrow and the Great Flood and stuff, we decided to build that right next door. Got it. All right, so I got a question for you. Now, this goes into the comprehensive planning exercise we're going to, in which I sit on as part of a committee. As we plan the future, where we want parks to go, it's part of that process. It's like, where do you envision the future? That's the whole point of this comprehensive planning process. Citizen engagement, master plan, I've got one coming up. obviously on the east side, is coming, I think, this week. And again, it's about, like, where do you see ourselves? And what types? How big, how small? You know, different versions, different flavors. And so my question is, as this, I mean, the last time you and I talked, when I came on board about 14 years ago, I had that study that you handed me. I think you came about right about the period of time. And at that time, we were down, what, 4 parks, 5 parks? Do you remember the master plan for parks?
Yeah, we did not meet the recommendation of the.
For that size
NRPA.
county back then?
Yes, back then. We did not meet it.
All right. And again, that's just for parks in general, regardless if it's a mega park or some type of passive park, right? It was just the need.
That's correct.
And then we distinguish the difference between indoor and outdoor, and I got it. That's what you do. I'm framing something. So again, different needs, different character areas. Everything is not commoditized, right? Distinctively. My question for this one then becomes, do you see the future for more parks like this in the county that are residential-based, residential-based, in the neighborhood, preservation-based? Is that important?
Absolutely, absolutely. As the metro area grows and the more people we get into the area, we know this county is growing and will continue to grow. You know, there's going to be a solid area around Atlanta that might stretch 30 or 40 miles easily that will need all sorts of parks, active, passive, nature. If we don't preserve some property now and put some of that property aside, the development will just eat it up. And children won't have places to go and experience unless they leave the area. Won't have places to go and experience nature, birds, plant, flora. It just won't be there because, as you know, the development around the city and the metro area is rampant.
Right. And I'll close with that. I mean, again, I remember how this started. And I've got to speak to decision-making. Now, if you're going to do a park, now I remember the original amount was $50,000. And sometimes that's done to frame getting decisions done. You try to lowball what you think the cost is going to be, which is why I'm so big on program manager. You can't play with, you can't bamboozle if you got to really schedule and plan things. Now, I get it. I do. But I want to marginalize the fact that once we got into this thing officially, this was taken over, like, okay, let's really size what this thing is. It's what you envision. The cost is the cost. But I do acknowledge, like, okay, I wouldn't have done it that way, but that was the narrative that was done to get it to move it along. I get the shift between 2 administrations and 2. Look, we know what that was. I can't sit here and allow that narrative right there. That's not how that went down. All right, so now we're in here, and right, you guys are now, well, because again, you got one who wants to do it this way, somebody else come along, I don't want to do it that way. But it's still the same manifestation, but once you got into it, what was the formality? I get it. It was decision-making. It was the narrative that was put forth by the board, not you. We did that. Then it became a shift, like, okay, what are we really doing here? Those are 2 different conversations. Right, so the narrative, so to the administration, y'all only follow what we did, but this goes back to my point, to my administrators, to having a formal discipline. I mean, at least, I'm gonna give you $50,000 to CR, that part I go, but it's gonna cost you what it's gonna cost you. That's about maturity. That's what I've been driving home. Like, now we've evolved to this right now, but we shouldn't have this going forward. Like, we don't have to dance with this. Frame it. Just, guys, be more formal, be more mature in how we approach all decisions. It's okay. And if it costs what it costs, then you got to tear it down. You got to, as they say, yeah, it's on the list at the bottom. It's okay to go after stuff if you got some excess to pick that up. That's not a sleight of hand. I can't let that sit. If you got excess from anything, you can go down the list and pick it up because that's what was left over. So you address a list that's long. We have a list that's long of needs in the county. It's not excessive. That's not true. It's things that haven't been done over time that we're trying to make up. We're behind trying to maintain. That's what this is about. It's not no excessive. It's about maintenance. It's about expansion, different needs, different pockets that are being unserved. So Gary, I had to give that, I couldn't let that go because I acknowledge, I appreciate you guys' work. I appreciate you guys trying to do the best you can based on what we're giving you as a direction. But to my administrators, plural, going forward, again, all new stuff, guys, we've got to do better so that we don't experience these type of things. That's all I got to say. Thank you. Madam Vice Chair, I yield. Thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Alcaraz, you have the floor.
Mr. Dukes, just from my knowledge in regards to hitting this rock, I'm assuming it's directly right there on the water as we're crossing, trying to build that bridge. Am I correct in saying that?
We've got rock at the bridge, and there's also rock under the parking area and the entrance road. Now, it's not solid all over, but there's portions that have to be excavated.
Okay, I'm just trying to understand. All right, so I know that if it's underneath the parking area, am I right in saying that was just going to be a gravel parking lot? Or
Yes,
is it, or
it's
are we gonna parse
gravel.
it?
It's not a paved lot.
Okay, so we're going to pull rock out from the parking area plus at the bridge?
Yes, both places.
Okay, I mean, I know we've already, we're invested in this, and we've already cleared out a fair amount of land, and, obviously we're stuck to a certain amount of land which we can and cannot clear out. So am I right in saying, or just from my knowledge, that we've already built a path all the way down to where the bridge is going to be? Have we already cleared on the other side as to the continuance of that path on the back side?
The only thing we've done on the other side of the bridge is put in trails, which you have to have the trails to experience the property.
Okay.
But there's been no construction, and to my knowledge, there won't be. It'll just be the 65 acres on the other side of the bridge will be completely natural, except for park benches, trash cans, that sort of thing.
Okay. And that bridge, obviously, is going to have to be constructed well enough to be able to get a transport vehicle in the event of emergency on the other side.
The bridge has already been spec'd, and it's being built now.
Okay. All right. That's all I have, Madam Vice Chair. Thank you for explaining that to me,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Dukes.
Thank you, Director Dukes.
Thank you.
Board of Commissioners, our next business item is tab number 10, approval of an employment contract between the Superior Court Accountability Courts and Joseph Briggers for case management services in the amount of $50,000 per year with full county benefits to be funded by the Bureau of Justice Adult Drug Court Enhancement Grant, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Ms. Karen Alexander, you have the floor.
Good morning. This is Teresa Gordy, my assistant coordinator. She will be handling all grant-related items today.
Thank you. Ms. Gordy, welcome.
This is a grant that we received in fall of 2020, and we interviewed for the position several times, could not find a candidate that we felt was what we were looking for, and so our other case managers have been handling the caseload of this, that this position is going to pick up. The grant is a federal BJA grant. Like I said, it began in 2020. We did not receive a approved budget until summer of 2021 due to delays in the federal government during the early pandemic stages. So we will be filing an extension to be able to expend all the funds of this grant, but we anticipate this position being funded for 2 years. And Mr. Bridgers was previously our housing case manager, and the grant he was paid under has ended, and we felt like he was a really good fit for this position. He's already working with a lot of these participants, and he'll still be handling housing as part of these duties.
Good. Okay. Are there any questions from the Board of Commissioners regarding this item? If none, thank you so much. That was self-explanatory, and hopefully this will get passed. And thank you for the continuity of care. It really does matter when you're dealing with these types of cases and case management. I don't think a lot of people understand that, but it is totally needed when, and appreciated when somebody else already knows what's going on. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Board of Commissioners, we have another item, which is the amendment to the agenda, which was requested by our county attorney. It is the resolution reaffirming the authority of the vice chair. I will now turn it over to Attorney Coleman in regards to this item. And he is not here.
He just stepped out.
He's just stepped out. No problem. One moment, okay. We will go on to the next agenda item. Are there any commissioner comments at this time? Commissioner Robinson, you have the floor.
Yeah, no commissioner comments, but I've got two things for staff. Let's make sure that we emphasize. I've got a town hall, I think, this week. It's really, I'm hosting the comprehensive planning process, and I've got transportation that's going to be there. Let's make sure we locked it up, communications. We need to get that out there into the public to get their participation in this process. In addition, we've got a master plan, master class, the Financial Entrepreneurship Literacy Program that's starting this week at the library, and Dr. Kim Holder is holding our very first workshop dealing with financial literacy series. More to come about that, but again, we're staying at work. Again, my citizens in District 2 understand being out there every day, talking to my citizens every day in their everyday lives. This is going to be a formal process which they can come out and engage us, and I look forward to seeing you all there. So let's make sure we clean up that communication. I just did this to buy time. Madam Vice Chair, I yield back. Thank you.
Thank you. Now that we have Attorney Coleman back, we will go back to the agenda item, resolution to reaffirm the authority of the Vice Chair. Attorney Coleman, can you give us an update regarding this resolution?
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. This resolution would fall, in my view, under the description of a resolution to allow the business of the county to go forward. Specifically, the county adopted a policy back in late 21 before I assumed these duties, setting forth a process and procedure for selecting the vice chair and some of the authority that the vice chair would have in the absence of the chair. There were some things that were not specifically addressed in that policy, which I believe are critical in allowing the county's business to move forward. Specifically, the authority to sign contracts, applications, and other documents which the chair's signature would ordinarily be required. These items come up almost every day, and if there is no one to sign them, then things are going to kind of grind to a halt. So I've added a provision giving the vice chair, specifying that the vice chair would have the authority to do that. There's a provision specifying that the vice chair should assume all of the duties and responsibilities of the chair, and including coordinating with the chief administrative officer to make sure that the day-to-day operations are being managed appropriately, which is generally a duty of the chair. It's been clarified, a provision's been added to clarify that the phrase "in the absence of the chair" includes a vacancy in the office of the chair, or the physical absence of the chair, and the inability of the chair to discharge the duties of the office for any reason. So just to define what that means, and to make it clear that the duties and responsibilities of the vice chair, quote, "in the absence of the chair," end quote, should have no force and effect when there is no vacancy in the office of the chair, or where the chair is physically present and able to discharge her duties. So it makes it clear that this is only when the chair is not able to discharge her duties, or that the office is vacant. As an example of the need, if you will note, all the items that we just went through on the agenda, they all say, "and authorize the chair to sign documents," and authorize the chair to sign documents. I would recommend that we change that to say, authorize the chair or the vice chair to sign the documents for now. But I think making this authority, having this resolution, conveying that authority clearly, and conveying to the outside world that documents are signed like that by the vice chair in the absence of the chair, pursuant to this, would be binding on the county. I think that's important. I think most of the folks who've presented things to us today will be calling to get a signature so they can move forward. If there's a grant that they need to apply for, it's got to have a signature. That needs to happen. So that is really the purpose of the resolution, just to clarify those authorities.
Thank you, Attorney Coleman. Are there any questions from the Board of Commissioners regarding this resolution? Commissioner Robinson, you have the floor.
Thank you. This was right. He's right. This was part, I think, 2021, which would have been the Optimization Act of 2021. That's when we do our fall legislative acts. Fall legislation, when we put everything together like General Assembly. Major legislation we put forth. So part of that was this whole vice chairmanship, formalizing it. Historically in Douglas County, the vice chair was symbolic. Pay attention. Symbolic. All right? The chair pretty much ruled. It was symbolism. There was no formality to it. It was just what it was. There's no veto power at the county level. 5 equal votes. But as we've evolved as a county, as we become more advanced, as you became new players where you got different and diverse voices, it was no longer one flavor, one way. And so then, obviously, the vice chairman became a little bit more formal. At least I set forth to make like, no, it's more than just being to the chair. Bring something to the table. Add some value. I love the Senate and stuff, so I tend to look more toward that as my guide. Formalize that. So during that period of time, not only was it the vice chair, but it was all our committee structures. Like, all right, guys, let's begin to mature to this point. Now, I want to give that as context because to that point, to the county attorney and Thompson-Hines, they were not on board at that time. We were at our own devices. And so he's being kind. It's like, well, we did the best we could, but take it to the next. We know this. He's like, you guys know you don't have anything. Yes, we know. That's why you're here. Where we have voids in the law or weaknesses in our code, that's what the county attorney is there for. So I've been waiting on this. This is something not new. I advocate for this. This was like, okay, I yielded the vice chairmanship. Like, no, it's time for a new voice. It's time for a future. I get it. But if we're going to do it, we're going to do it right. And that's what this was about. Now, we're just now getting around to it. And I would say, okay, let's not be reactive. Let's stay ahead. You can anticipate the future. You can foresee things like, okay, guys, let's go ahead and knock this out. We're in here. But again, at that time, we were in transition as it relates to council. So we did the best we could. But I appreciate the work that's being put forth here because, like, okay, now we're talking. We'll just change the charter. It was like it was so difficult to change. It's like, what is this stronghold in this county? Change it. Bring it up, advance it. And so that's what this was about. All right, so this work here now is very formalized. It's like we be sneaking around things like, okay, guys, let's put it on the books. You're not after anybody, but act like you're about who you are, that you can actually deal with these tough issues. And this is just about succession. Anything can happen. Why aren't you dealing with it? It's almost like people don't want to deal with wills and stuff like that. We just don't want to talk about it. I get it, but that's what we are here to deal with stuff like this. And we look to staff to help support us when we need to get it done in a needy fashion. So please, this is just for anyone who might have had a certain position, this isn't because of the current times. It's because it was always supposed to be in place. We just got around to it because the need was so deep as it relates to legal. And Thompson-Hines, I appreciate you guys working, bringing this forward. So I had to give context to that. I heard what was said. Madam Vice Chair, I have no problem. We can take it up tomorrow in the formal debate. I yield.
Any other questions for County Attorney? I would just like to say, as Vice Chair, when I took this role, I had no idea of what would come or what has transpired. But I do understand, and I am committed to ensuring that the county business continues. So in the absence of our chair until such time as the governor appoints one, I think it is noted and needed that this resolution be passed. So I would ask staff to put this on the agenda for a vote on tomorrow, and we will take it up accordingly.
Madam Vice Chair, may I?
Yes.
I also wanted to, again, restate my recommendation that the agenda references to signature by the chair be amended to include signature by the chair or the vice chair.
Noted accordingly.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other items to come before this Board of Commissioners on this work session agenda? If there are none, this meeting stands adjourned. Thank you.
Madam Vice Chair, before you
yes.
adjourn, there is an item for executive session board appointments.
We
that-
need to go into executive session
Yes,
for
personnel matter.
personnel matters. Board of Commissioners, we have been advised that we need to go into executive session for personnel matters. Do we have a motion to convene?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, state aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously, and we are now in executive session. And we are back from executive session. I ask that the county clerk and the attorney would please update the agenda accordingly so that the public would know the items that have been added for tomorrow's voting session. Are there any further items to come before the board? If not, this meeting stands adjourned. Thank you.